All right, so you can see them putting out the firing at the enemy. Now the cavalryman is also going to carry a pistol, typically a Colt or Remington pistol, 6-shot pistol. It's a cap and ball repeater. It's rather difficult to shoot from the on the fly. So the Confederate artillery is responding to the Federal artillery. Now, interestingly enough, let's take a look at our artillery. On the Confederate side, we have what looks like a 3-inch ordnance rifle, and we have a 10-pound Parrott rifle. Now, the fact that I use the term rifle to refer to cannons means that the cannon barrel has been rifled. This is designed to give the cannons greater range and greater accuracy. On the Federal side, we have a 6-pounder, a 12-pounder, and a mountain howitzer. So, just to confuse you, our Federal troops or artillery is typically armed with what would look more like a Confederate battery, while the Confederate battery is more typically armed with what would be Federal artillery. The Confederates tended to use mixed batteries, which means that in a battery you would have a combination of different types of guns. You might have a couple of 12-pound Napoleons with a couple of Parrott rifles, if they had found some Parrott rifles. You might have a couple of 12-pound Napoleons with a couple of 6-pounders. On the other side of the field, the Federals would tend to actually have all of their types of guns in a single battery being the same, simplifying, of course, the ability to supply their artillery. If all the guns in your battery are all firing the exact same type of weapon,
Stop it.
then you can more easily supply that artillery. Part of the reason why the Union Army was starting to adopt repeating rifles was because of the supply situation. Let me ask another question. Where is the nearest superhighway of the 1860s in relation to where we are? Anybody want to answer that one?
Probably the river.
Okay. There's a superhighway of the 1860s right behind me. It's called the river. Rivers were the superhighways of the 1860s. You could put, with the invention of the steamship, you could move goods up and down a river far faster and far cheaper than any other way of movement. Your next option is the railroads. Now, the problem with the real problem with the rivers, of course, is you don't get to pick where the rivers are. But if you look at the development of the United States, you'll see that most major cities have something in common. They're either a port or they're sitting on a river. And if you really want a big city, you put it a port on a river. So that is why you see most cities are, like I said, on a river or a port. Now the next item is the railroads. Railroads are great. You can kind of build railroads where you want to build the railroad, but the problem is once you've built the railroad, that's where it's at. So most of the railroads are going to go between major cities, and of course the advantage in railroad goes to the north. Not only do they have more miles of track, but they adopted uniform track gauge, so any train could run on anybody else's track. So if you were driving a train down the Pennsylvania Penn Central Railroad, you could easily move it onto the track of the Illinois Central, and thus you don't have to go and unload the train and then load the train into a different train. If you were in the Confederate States, if you were taking a railroad from Richmond down to Texas, you would have to stop at Chattanooga. When you stopped at Chattanooga, you would change trains. load everything from one train to the other, and then take a different train all the way to Mobile, Alabama. Then you would have to do the same thing and load the train and unload the train. Because the southern trains operated on different tracks and gauges, they were all independent railroads, they didn't standardize. So this was also a disadvantage for the South. You see, the Confederates are firing by company, each individual company firing smaller. And it looks like the Louisiana Tigers are starting to break.
Boy, it's starting to run, so they shot him.
Yeah, I saw it. He's just like, boom.
Get him.
Now
Skills, man.
typically in the American Civil War, the ranges that we would be fighting at would be a lot farther than what you're seeing here today. We have serious limitations on our range. Typically, the range would be more from where your Confederate infantry is standing, somewhere to about where the post office is in Galena. The artillery, which also has a range of anywhere from about 800 yards to the mountain howitzer, going up to about 1,200 yards to the 12-pound howitzer, going up to about a mile for the Barrett rifle and the rifle 3-inch short-inch rifle. They, of course, are not going to deploy this close to the battle. They're going to try to, the federal artillery will probably be back about where the post office is on top of that high ground. If I was deploying the Confederate artillery, I would probably put it on top of the bridge. Take advantage of the elevations and work in your favor. But extend the range.
They're gonna make
Federals are retiring in echelon. That means they're retiring by one company by one company. That way, keeping fire on the enemy will covering the retreat to one company, and the next company will fall back and reorganize.
People dead.
Left drive.
You know what?
Okay.
I know. You do this.
Now, across the river, we've got some federal troops that are armed with repeating rifles.
Which isn't good, so don't do that.
And we'll be seeing their effect a little bit later in the battle. So the Civil War started with a big mix of technologies. The average state arsenal would contain everything from smoothbores,
Somebody has something in here for
even some flintlocks. So they would contain a lot of old equipment. And then as the war progressed, as Union manufacturing went from an army of 52,000 to an army of almost 1.5 million, the Confederates went from an army of 0 to 800,000 men. Equipping all that many people required a lot of manufacturing and a lot of new equipment. We bought a lot of used trash in Europe to get started, but eventually we settled on about 3 major infantry weapons: the Springfield rifled musket and 58 caliber, the 5.77 caliber Enfield rifle, there was a British imported rifle, and they also used the Lorenz rifle. used. And the Austrian rifle that was imported also was bored out to 58 caliber. So again, the importance of everybody having weapons of the same caliber, it meant that if I manufactured a box of 58 caliber ammunition, I could send it anywhere and have it effectively used by every soldier. So now you can see the rapid fire effect of the Henry repeating rifle. Now, the Henry repeating rifle, there was only about 5,000 that were actually made and used during the American Civil War. Compare that to the 160 of the Spencer repeating rifles that were used. Compare that, of course, to the 2.5 million Springfields, the 850,000 Enfield rifles that were imported, and about another 150,000, 200,000. You can see the distribution of firepower and what was used on the field. Now, when we talk about the artillery really does have within its equipment 3 different approaches to the use of weaponry. The artillery really has 3 different rounds. It's basically firing solid shot. Solid shot is the most long range of the weapons. So for the 12-pound Napoleon firing at about 1,200 yards, they're going to use solid shot. They can then go and use exploding shell. Exploding shell is designed to actually explode in the air. Now, if you've ever watched Civil War battles, you've seen things exploding, the ground blowing up, and throwing dirt everywhere. Actually, on the battlefield, they did not do that. What they wanted to do is have the shell explode about 4 feet over the ground, right in front of the enemy's line. That way, when it explodes, it showers metal fragments into the line of the enemy, impelled by the movement of the gun. So the fragments would then rain down into the company and destroy the troops. If you fired a shell and it landed in the dirt and was buried in the dirt, that is not really serving any purpose. Your object here is to have the shell explode and kill people, not to explode and force them to take their uniform to the dry cleaners. So you can see Federals have begun reorganized, fell back. No idea what they're doing.
No idea what
They had them beat. Should have just dropped. Okay, they're kind of drawing them into the artillery fire.